Wisdom Moon here with the songwriterscafe.com, and I'm excited to have back on this show. Actually, this is a special edition because it's a video. My friend Will Retherford. Hey, Will.
What's up, Wisdom?
And the cool thing about Will is that he was actually featured on our podcast back in December 2011, so not even a year ago, and he's been up to some exciting things, so welcome back to...
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, the Songwriters Cafe community. I know our community really enjoyed your music and just hearing from you, so what have you been up to since December?
Since December, man, feels like yesterday. Well, we pretty much wrapped up the album in the spring. We spent a lot of time doing post-production and finishing vocals, and then diving into the artwork, duplication. I ended up leaving the country for a month to Africa at the end of the year, so I was trying to get everything for the album finished, so that way when I came back, I didn't have a lot to do before the release. So it's been busy, been running, trying to get everything set up for this release, and just looking forward to seeing God take it. So. Were
you on an assignment with the CIA in Africa or something, or what were you doing there?
Something like that. Yeah, I led a missions team with Oral Roberts University, and me and 11 team members, we went out to the country Zambia, and we spent a lot of time working with orphans and did some village ministry, and it was definitely an experience.
Sweet.
I want to trade it for the world.
Wow, awesome. So your first album was called Awake, which is an interesting title. We talked about that during our last interview.
Yeah, we did.
Your new album coming out September 4th is called Walk.
Yep.
So what's the story behind these titles? I'm guessing the next one's going to be called like Lay Down or something.
It's funny. You're on the right track. Awake, yeah, so like you said, the first project was Awake, and this second one coming up is called Walk. And so what I'm trying to do with this is pretty much sum up the whole day into one idea, on a spiritual sense and on a literal sense. Like, we awake in the morning, we start the day, but we also need to awake spiritually in our lives and realize the calling that God has put upon us. And then so I had it in my heart to call this one Walk. And so because after we awake, what do? Well, we walk into our day. We start the day. It's more of a call to action. It's the story. And so I put this idea together of a walk, and I wrote the songs around the theme of like running towards our Savior, needing to be rescued, falling down this narrow path. So Walk is all about the journey after we awake. It's about the spiritual journey that we take throughout the day. Because I feel like so many people are like asleep in their spiritual lives, that are just kind of settling for the practical life, and they're not necessarily going after the vision that God's put in their heart. And so the idea of Walk is to have Christ awaken within their spirits and call them to walk so they can start doing what He's called them to do. So it's a really deep message, but it's simplified in one word, just walk. And so it will probably hit people in many different ways and many different levels, but that's the idea behind Walk, and so they're related. So looks like a series almost.
Wow, yeah. When you were talking about it, I don't know if you've thought about this or not, but you could almost take each album and like create a devotional or some kind of book out of it.
I've thought about doing that actually before.
Yeah,
down the road at some point.
Yeah, because I think there's really a lot to be said there. Even through written books. So what are you hoping that listeners would take away from this new album?
Well, it is a worship album. This album will have a lot more songs that would fit for the church. The last album, there was some worship songs on there, but it was a very like Selah, very like sit down and listen to what is God saying to me in the song. And this one's I would say more interaction. And so I desire for the listeners, whenever they're listening to this album, when they're worshiping with this album, that they would catch the vision of what I'm trying to say, of what God's put inside of me. Because the idea to awaken all of us Christians and even non-Christians to what God has for us. And so that's my dream as they're worshiping, that they're listening and their eyes are being open to what God has for them in life. Either they're being reminded or being shown for the first time, just to get the idea of, man, I got to start walking. I'm not doing what He wants me to do. I've been holding back. So that's what I want them to take away.
Yeah, and you had some really talented people involved with this album, including Michael Rossback, who
Rossback, good guy.
yeah produces for Gungor and Paul Baloche, Jared Anderson. Can't go wrong
Oh
with
yeah,
a guy like that.
man, Rossback, he's so great. Seriously.
So, who all did you have involved with this album, and what kind of like roles did they fulfill?
Well, first Rossback, he helped me with the Wake, the first project, and he did so well. He catches the vision, and he really listens to what you have to say. He wants to know what your vision for the album is and what you want it to sound like, and that he makes it his job to make that come to pass. Whenever because in the studio, he's just running the show. He puts some of his guys that are doing the music in charge, and so he has to take on that role of like communicating that to the other artists and the other musicians who are becoming a part of it, because being in the studio, for me, I'm doing so much of just like of the recording and focusing and making sure it's come to pass. It's so hard to constantly be reminding all the other artists to have that vision. So he's helped me with the vision. It's great. Other people like David Gungor, he's the lead singer of the Brilliance, and him and John Arndt, they both created the Brilliance. I don't know if you've heard of the Brilliance.
No,
but
I haven't.
They're doing pretty well. They've been opening up for Gungor, and so they helped me with their first project, and I love what they bring to the table. So I had them become a part of it. Mackenzie Smith was the drummer, very good drummer. Another artist, though, I did a lot of writing with this guy named Simon Hajar. He is a singer-songwriter out here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he's done a project with Michael Rossback, and he helps me. I like to say we balance each other out, because he helps me go deeper with lyrics, and I help him stay more simple. So we balance each other real well, and so we have the co-writes "He Is Here" and then the song "Walk," two of my favorites on the album. And then Brooke Williams is the girl that sang on the album that we've done worship a lot throughout the past couple of years, and so her heart was perfect for this project, and the way we work together is really, I think, goes really well and really portrays the message that we're trying to sing, we're trying to worship. So those are the main people that were a part of this the album. And then of course you can't forget Luke Flowers, who does the awesome artwork for all the posters and everything. So.
Sweet. Yeah, I love your sound. You have a really unique sound, and I love your songwriting.
Thank you.
You obviously have a gifting for that. So can you kind of tell us what your songwriting process is like? I know you did some co-writes, some songs just by yourself. So what was that like?
Well, if you've noticed, I have a lot of my albums are one word titles, and then a lot of my songs are either 1 or 2 word titles, and usually I have a lot of ideas going through my head, but I always hear simple is key, and so it's instead of making like these long drawn out explanations, just sum it up into one word and then expand on that in the lyrics. And so I usually have like there's some songs on the record called Rise and Narrow, and so I usually have the idea, okay, so Narrow is going to be about walking on this narrow path that that few find it. Arise is about reminding everybody about the last record, about it's time to wake up and arise. And so I take those ideas, and then before I dive into lyrics, I always pull out my guitar, and I always find the key, and I always find the feel of how do I want this to feel, like what do I want the listeners to feel whenever they're listening to the song. And so that's the way I approach the feeling of the song, the way the music is played. And then lyrics is usually been my weakest point. So sometimes I'll get lucky, I'll have a good worship moment with Christ, and we'll get some real good lyrics. But then but going deeper with lyrics, I love co-writing with people like Simon Hajar, Brooke, David Leonard, and even Michael Rossback. We had a co-write on this song, and I think there's something very valuable about bringing 2 creative minds and 2 hearts of worship together to a song. I think it portrays a wider variety of people's perceptions towards Christ and worship. And I think you can accomplish a lot when you co-write. And so that's what the process looks like for me. Does that answer the question for you?
Yeah, that's good. So one of the songs that really stood out to me is called "He Is Here." Let me see. That's track number 3.
Yep, track number 3.
Could you share with us some of the lyrics and the story behind the song?
Okay. Well, my last record, Awake, keep pulling them back and forth. We had the song "Beautiful Feet," and that song is I came up with the concept from that in India, and that's pretty much a song about missions. And so I've put it. It's been set in my heart to every time I do a record to have a song that's wrapped around the idea of missions, about traveling, about sharing the gospel, about going to every man's world and every man's nation. And so this "He Is Here" is that song for this record. I got the basic idea and concept when I was in Romania last year in Europe. We were doing a lot of ministry with gypsy children, and I had this sight of seeing all these gypsy children that were just like starving and begging, but all the people just kind of like America, but everyone just ignores them and treats them like trash. And so we spent a lot of time ministering with them and showing them Christ, showing them love. And so I got the idea of like, if you listen to the lyrics in this song, it's see the rich, see the poor, see the crumbling, see the used, the confused, and the struggling. And then it goes into another verse saying, see your friends, see yourself, see your enemies. So the idea is like, see everybody around you, see the people, like don't just walk past them, but see them, because Christ is reaching out his hand to save them. And it's our job to tell them about that. Yeah. And so that's the chorus, that's the proclamation saying, he is here to save us. Tell the world that he lives, that he's come to save. Mm-hmm. So that's where the song He Is Here came from. And then, like I said, the concept came from Romania, came back in town, and Simon, who helped me co-write it, we finished that song together, and he helped me go deeper with some of the lyrics and helped me just bring it together to a complete finished song, and we were very happy with it.
Yeah, I love the song. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And one of the other songs, I think it's the next song, which is track 4, is called "At Your Cross." I'm always curious to hear from the songwriters who, and maybe even producers who come up with the idea of like singing not words, but like ohs and ahs and whatever. So this song, "At Your Cross," has a line where you sing oh, and I'm kind of curious to find out why you decided to go with O instead of ya, or ah, or some other sound.
Oh yeah,
some other vowel sound.
Some other vowels. Okay, well, we had this song and we were gonna play it for church one time, and I got with another writer. His name's Hudson Ford. He plays keys, and so we played the song, and I was like, Hudson, the song, it's good, but we don't have that hook yet. There's not a hook, and we need some cool like piano opening just to kind of get people locked into the song. And he was like, okay. So we started jamming, and he started playing those notes, the O notes on keyboard, and right away it clicked. It fit in right with the song, and then we weren't even planning on singing O's live, but when we were playing that live and we were doing the piano, someone came upon me and the singers just to sing O, and I was like, bam! I don't know, it just fit perfectly, and so that's what we did for the record. And and then you asked why O and yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I believe you can worship with just notes, with singing notes to Christ, just singing beautiful melodies. And for some reason, I'm not the biggest fan of yeah in songs. I don't really know what people mean when they're like yeah, like I don't know what they're trying to say. It almost comes off to me like a little showy, like. And so I always kind of stay away from yeah. So I mean, I like ah and O's. So that's why I went with O instead of yeah or whatever. So I don't know if that helps explain where that came
nice. So from your experience recording these 2 previous albums, or the previous one and this one, for maybe songwriters out there that may be watching or listening, who are thinking about doing their own album and they've never done one before, what would be like some advice that you can give them? Maybe like some quick pointers as far as like how to go about starting that process.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 things that I think I've pulled away mainly from this is make sure the timing is right, and then never stop writing. If you feel called by God to record albums and write worship songs, then never stop writing worship songs. Be writing worship songs every day of your life, because they're only going to be getting better, and you're only going to become a better writer. And then we all fall under this path, and I for sure am guilty. I have this thing where I always run ahead of God a little bit too far, where he's always shouting, a couple blocks away, like, come back, like, we're not there yet, Yeah. So I run into that problem where I try to choose my timing over God's timing. And so going into songwriting, going into recording, you have to make sure the timing is right. That it's like, is this when God wants me to record? Are these songs ready to be produced and released yet? So to be listening, be writing songs constantly, and be listening for Christ. And if you keep following Him, and if you keep doing it for Him, and if you're in His will, then it'll be the right time. And I think it will flourish. I think by doing that, you're putting the songs in His hands instead of your hands. Yeah. And so I think that makes the biggest difference when releasing worship music and music in general.
That's good. I was actually just talking to Jonathan Lee the other day, and he was talking about, how nowadays people just can instantly write a song, put it on Facebook, and just share their song that they've just written. And, a lot of us don't really take that time to really sit and go, does God want me to share this song right now?
Right.
With the world.
Because you might change your mind tomorrow, like, oh, I don't like that bridge anymore,
Yeah.
Like, you need to sit on it for a little bit.
Yeah. So
never release your first draft. That's something I've always learned.
Yeah. So, that's a very wise advice.
Yeah.
So what's coming up for you after this album release, which is September 4th? Now that it's done, I mean, you're going to be really pushing it, I'm sure, and your friends and people around you are going to be pushing it, but the actual recording is done, so what's next? Are you getting married?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely getting married. That's coming up soon, so we might put a pause on the music for a little while to, get married and go on a honeymoon and everything. But seriously, with this next record, my dream, my prayer is to be able to travel, be able to get some more gigs, be able to get into churches, because I feel like these songs are for the church, are to wake up the sleeping Christian, and so that Christian can go out and tell someone about Jesus Christ, and so that's my dream, and that's what we're going to be pushing for, hoping to get on the road here soon, and just seeing maybe even begin the installment of the third album in this series. Who knows? I'm just taking one day at a time and following Christ and listening to Him, making sure that we're not rushing anything, making sure that we're not doing too much, but doing just enough that He can move on our behalf. That's what I'm going for.
So the third one, what's the title?
I guess I'll officially release it. It's going to be Rest.
Rest.
So yes. So awake, walk, rest, and so it sums up the whole day. It sums up the whole idea of. We awake from our spiritual sleep, we walk into what God has called us to do, and we rest in His presence whenever we've completed His will. So
after that, there's no more albums coming out, huh?
That's not true. Not at all. I mean, we can keep going, man.
Rise.
I'll just make the next records will be awaking, walking, resting.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so you said you're interested in traveling and doing some music and stuff at churches. So if people want to book you for an event or something, or to have you come lead worship at their church, tell us first of all the most important question: what is your favorite color of M&Ms?
Oh, favorite color of M&Ms. I really like yellow. Yellow is
good.
It stands out. You're looking at all those M&Ms, like which ones do we choose? And the yellow one's just standing right there, like waving at me. So I have to pick him.
Cool. So now that we know that, how can people get in contact with you?
Well, directly, if you guys want to book me to come out to your church, come out and play, or even come out and do some writing sessions or some workshops, you can email me directly at willretherford@gmail.com. That's Retherford with an E, not a U. A lot of people get that mixed up. And then if you guys want to follow more of what I like to say and what I do, I'm constantly blogging once a week, and I'm putting out quotes and pushing pictures. And so you can follow me on Twitter at Will Retherford, and then you can follow me on Facebook at my band page, facebook.com/Will Retherford Music. And if you follow those, then you'll be able to keep up with what's going on, when's the next show, what do I have to say next in my next blog. So, I hope you guys would love to tag along for the journey.
Cool. And just tweet about what you just did there. Like, it sounded like you broke something.
Oh, no, I like throwing things.
Oh. All right, so the album is dropping September 4th, so people can get it on iTunes, right?
That's right, iTunes. I'm so excited.
Cool. All right, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing about your album and sharing
Appreciate it.
about what God's speaking to you about these days. And congratulations on
Thank you.
getting engaged, and
Thank you.
excited for you.
Appreciate it, Wisdom. Thanks for having me. Seriously.